Jeff, the Mariners PR team sends out numbers in the box score, and it's like, yep, never been done. Yep. Back tied with it's just a ridiculous run. And we were talking a little about this yesterday. Castillo, Logan, George, and Bryce last night, as you said, absolutely filthy. Those first three are ones. Aren't those first three guys all capable of being aces on just about anybody's staff in baseball?
Yes. We can get into the discussion of what makes a one, and that's going to take a long time because my definition of a one is a little bit different. But for the purposes of the generally accepted definition of what a number one starter in baseball is, they've got three, and they might have four now.
Yeah, so what that's really remarkable to think about, and we haven't even seen Brian Wu yet. And oh, by the way, Emerson Hancock is just racking up quality start after quality start.
He's been perfectly. I'll say this. Earlier this week, it was before I think it was on Sunday, before I went on to Baseball Tonight. I wanted to understand just how good the Mariners pitching had been. So I went to Fangraphs and punched in like a date calendar, like, select statistics by date. And I was sorting it by ERA, and I kept going back a day. And the ERA over like the previous 8 days was 1-something, 9 days 1-something, 10 days 1-something, 11 days 1-something, 12 days, and it kept like getting lower. and so I went back and looked, and I have not updated this since last night, so I don't know. But I went and looked back, and I think it was over the previous. I think it was over a 12-game stretch.
Yeah, 20 runs.
The Mariners had like. No, it was 11 runs in 10 games. At one point, it was I think it was like a 1.11 ERA, and I went and looked at that stretch. And historically, like since the turn of the century, I think only two other teams had done it, and it was a Giants team that won a World Series, and it was an Astros team that won a World Series.
We talked about this, I think, a couple weeks ago about the Houston Astros and how they found a market inefficiency, right? And some of the older pitchers from the Dominican and just the fruit that has borne. I'm curious, when the rest of the league looks around at the Seattle Mariners and says, young ace, young ace, young ace, oh my gosh, how did they go about doing this? How do they go about developing a staff that is the envy of just about everybody in baseball, especially with the youth of these guys all coming up together? When others study the Mariners, was there a market inefficiency? Was it an eye for scouting? Is there a key to their development? What do you think they find when they study the Mariners, like we talked about with the Astros?
I think what they see is guys who can develop players well. And I don't know that player development is a market inefficiency. I think it's a process. And the Mariners do process about as well as any other team. I think they do process in their draft really well, and it's why they've been able to identify guys like Cole Young and like Colt Emerson and like Johnny Farmelo, guys who weren't as appreciated perhaps by other organizations and other organizations' draft models. And, they put them into the organization then, and they have player development people. And I think the Mariners do really well is project what a guy can be. That's a hard thing to do, guys. It's a really hard thing to do. But it's not just in the case of George Kirby, who's a first-round pick, and Emerson Hancock, who's a first-round pick. It's taking Bryce Miller and Brian Wu a little bit later. And even a guy like Logan Evans, who I don't know if he's the next really good Seattle Mariners starter, but I'll say this. He was, what was he, like I think it was like a 12th round pick last year, and he's a double A already with a sub-2 ERA.
Yeah, does that also extend to what they've done with some of these relievers as well? And first it was Paul Sewald and those guys, and now I don't know if you've watched Cody Bolton. It'd be weird if you have, but like they've recreated Justin Topa again.
I know it's I'm telling you, process is such a boring thing to hear about and think about, but they do it really, really well. They just do, and the thing about process to me, when I begin to mention it, when asked why teams are winning, it takes a while. You don't like earn your process bona fides within 1 year. This is something that they've done multiple years now with the bullpen guys, and you've seen it with the drafting, with the player development. I asked somebody with the organization, what is it that you guys do best? And his answer was process all the way, because they have figured out things that work, but they're not married to them to the point where if it doesn't start to work, or if it doesn't work anymore, that they're going to be, I think St. Louis, for example, fell into that trap. It's the Cardinal way or nothing. Well, what happens when everyone else evolves and the Cardinal way doesn't do as well as it used to? Are you able and willing to evolve with it? And St. Louis has not done so to the extent that they've needed to, and they've fallen behind because of it. I think the Mariners are I think they're a smart organization because they are extremely process-oriented, but they are not married to these ideals that they've developed in the course of making these players as good as they are. They just know that's what's working now and what's been working for them.